Hello, everybody. I am one of your hosts, Scott, coming to you from the warming city of Toronto.
And I'm Andy, coming to you from currently sunny and still quite chilly United Kingdom.
Good to see you, Andy.
Good to see you too. And looking forward to seeing you in real life fairly soon.
Very
as well,
soon.
again.
That is coming up in a few weeks, or maybe a month and a half or so. That'll be fun. We can actually do this in person, eh?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has. It has been a while. Yeah. I don't think we've ever done an in-person episode recording of the podcast.
No, not an episode. That's right.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for coming to another episode of Tea and Timbits, global perspectives on business development to help you prosper. We are turning a corner into a new season, at least for those of us in hemispheres and areas of the world that have 4 seasons. I'm looking forward to the warming weather. And that turns our sort of minds, or a common place to turn one's mind at this time of year is into some spring cleaning. And we'll get into some themes around that as it pertains to business development. But before we do, Andy, have you got some reflections to share today for us?
I have. It's not directly business related, but it's a relevant story for everybody who is in business. One of my clients, he's a typical busy manager, right? And he and I started working together to do a particular project that he was working on with his team, and as we were doing it, he was just lacking energy, just not quite all there, and he was complaining about it as well. He recognized it himself, and it was coming across, and of course that was rubbing off on the team, and the team were like not feeling as motivated either. And I said, tell me a little bit about your routine. What are you doing in the mornings, in the day, and things like that. And he told me, and there was a lot of stuff going on, but it was all very chaotic, right? And there was no time in there where he was doing any exercise. He wasn't even going out for a walk. He didn't have time. He was getting up. He was just doing stuff and getting on with things. And of course, as a result, his body was kind of giving up, and that was affecting his mind. Right. And this is funny because it happens a lot to busy executives. And I fell in the trap of this about 10 years ago as well, and then turned it around. But having been there myself, it was very eye-opening to me that, yes, I know exactly what the problem is here. We need to do this, and I donated to him one of my old kettlebells, and got him to start using that. So we stood there actually in the office. So I went there with it, physically gave it to him, and said, right, we're going to do this. I'm going to teach you how to do this. And it was like in the office in front of everybody, and he was really uncomfortable, but he did it. So it was really cool. And he's kept doing it, and he started running now as well in the mornings. So he's on day 3, and he's on one of these programs, and of course that energy becomes infectious. He's now into it, he's doing this, and it's showing the team, well, actually you can turn it around. It's giving them improved energy, and the project's moving much more further forward, and it's turned things around in a positive way. So essentially my message is, definitely look after your body as well, because it really does impact your work, and it really impacts on your team as well.
Yeah, it's a good reminder, and I appreciate sort of getting a chance to listen to a story like that probably we all need a reminder of every once and again, even if we haven't fallen right off our routines. But it just reminds me of a moment of the day. I was it's in my schedule to like go to the gym, at certain times and whatnot, and I went, but that was the success that I was going to accomplish that day.
You actually got to the front door of
the
gym.
Yeah, that's right. Like
didn't turn around, get in the car, and go home again.
I think that's like part of this point is like, listen, like you don't always have to be moving the ball up the field, but you've got to stick with the routine and the cadence and the schedule. So, because it's one thing to say you've done it 3 days, but then are you doing it 3 days a week, right? So sometimes you just got to tie up your shoes and say, I don't know if I could actually do my usual jog, but I'll walk around the block. So it enables you to get to those other weeks where you crush some really engaging workouts. Well, thank you. Let's get into sort of our March theme of spring cleaning. Where do you think that starts, and why do you think that's relevant for our business audience, Sandy?
I think in a way it kind of relates a little bit to the story that I just told, the healthy body, healthy mind. Also, it's important to have a healthy working environment. So if you have chaos around you, then you have a chaotic mind, which means you can't focus, which means you can't be productive. I got really ridiculed when I was in certain companies in the past, because I would have like an empty desk. It would just have the keyboard, the mouse, and the screen on it, and I would have nothing there. I would take everything away every day, tidy it away, have nothing on the desk. And I was the only one who had that. Everyone else had like crap everywhere. And that was just normal. So I stood out as being like really odd, a really strange person with nothing on my desk. Yeah, I see.
I'm holding up random items that are within reach here. I got bunny ears, wipes, and a week-old can of Coke that's got half of the stuff in it. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
But there's not a problem with having things there when you're using them, but put them away again afterwards, and tidy up. I mean, we're all guilty of, leaving a mess around us and going, oh, I'll deal with that later, and that's fine. It happens, but recognizing that later can't be forever away. It can't just keep being pushed into the future. It needs to happen, and you need to keep things clean, because if you have a tidy environment and a clean environment that you're working in or living in, even, you will feel better in yourself. You'll be more effective and more efficient.
So literally, you're taking the classic spring cleaning, like clean up the house kind of spring cleaning, literally here in the business sense. It is that actually clean your workspace, your work environment. Be
100%.
in a sanitary, comfortable place that you feel like you're not embarrassed by, or that it is something that is a positive space for your health.
100%. I think that is incredibly important, as well as, when I say chaos, your desktop computer, your computer desktop also should be tidy. Your filing system, your emails, all that sort of stuff. Spend the time necessary to get that organized. Put a schedule in place, put organization in place, all that sort of stuff. It makes such a difference to do it.
I'm gonna try and balance that equation a little bit, because I know that there are people, and I may have some in my immediate family, who just and even I operate on a slightly different wavelength. There is a different amount of sort of busyness and even clutter or accessories that give us people, those like me and others I know, comfort. And the complete sanitation of my desktop, I think, probably feels about as uncomfortable for me as it would for you to be sitting at a desk that had several things. So I get your point.
I had bunny ears and wipes and half-drunk cans of Coke on it.
Okay, like, I'm just saying, there is sure, I get your point that, like, get your actual workspace into a place that is conducive to lack of distraction and feeling good about your physical presence there. And to your point, some people are going to feel immensely balanced with a perfectly pristinely clean space. Others do enjoy a little bit of character added into what that is. And so I think, to the point that it is effective for you, absolutely. I'm in agreement. You also mentioned sort of cleaning up your schedule. So that was the point that I had put down when we were going to come in to talk about this. It's, for me, this is about thinking about where all of your time goes every day, every week, every month, and really look at where you can clean that up. And I was just on a call with a client, and we were trying to do some housekeeping on some of the tasks and other priorities. and there's a point at which, boy, this has just been on the list for so long. It doesn't mean you can't add it back in, but I would swing the pendulum to the extreme in this case and be like, can I decline more meetings? Can 1 hours become half an hours? Can half an hours become 15? And I don't mean for you to drop everything down to it's purely impersonal, perfunctory time requirement. But I did this at the beginning of the year, back in January, and I looked at my calendar and I was like, boy. But they just creep up on you, weekly meetings, and you've got one for this person and one for that person. Well, wait a minute, I can combine those two because we always talk about the same thing. And that one doesn't actually happen on the regular. So I'm going to switch it to bi-weekly. And this one, I bet I don't even need it. So I'm going to can't. And I probably cleared a day's worth of time in a week in my calendar by doing that. Now, some of that will creep back in, but that was the intention. It's like, let's push this to one extreme and see if anything starts to hurt or breaks or does really need to come back in. So in my mind, I wasn't going with the physical cleaning, but I'm glad that you brought that up. I was going with the schedule and an intentional audit of where you're putting your time and energy and being ruthless with pulling back on that.
I'm with you entirely on that, and this is what I mean. I accept that my environment cleaning, my desktop, that I want to literally just have, the keyboard, the mouse, and the screen on there, which is why I like Apple, because everything's included in that one screen, and it's fantastic. But I also understand that for many people that's uncomfortable and it feels weird to have it like that, and that's perfectly fine. So it must be clean and tidy for you, but it must be something that you feel comfortable with, not that you look at your desk and go, oh, I've got to deal with that, I've got to deal with that, or I've got to think about that. It's because those are distractions, and if you have those distractions constantly, then you're not able to focus on what you're doing. And what I think is that you start with that physical environment around you, however works best for you, but you start with the physical environment, and then you go onto the digital environment. You make your desktop, your filings, your email structure, what works for you that makes you feel comfortable and confident in a way that you're actually going to use it. Because the worst thing is that you put it that way and then you go, and then you start putting stuff back on a desktop again. Because then you're just going to feel annoyed with yourself constantly that you haven't maintained your filing system that you put together.
Right.
So it's got to be something that works. And then look at your schedule, look at what you're doing, when you're doing it, how long you're doing it for, who you're doing it with, and how you can combine those things, exactly as you said. And I think if you do that step-by-step process over it doesn't have to all be done in one day, but do it over a period of time, you end up feeling very confident with your environment, and you are a lot more productive.
And there's a certain sense of satisfaction, I think, that comes from just feeling like you've conquered that, which has been creeping up, and adding all this sort of subliminal pressure to the work that you do, to the schedule of your day, to all your interpersonal interactions as well. So
Completely agree. Yeah.
So the rest of the month, I think we're going to get a little bit more deeper on some of these topics, because I'm avoiding getting into some of the things that
exactly.
we've already talked about going deeper on. So if you're tune in for the rest of the month, because we're going to talk about tools and organization of the things that you use. We're going to talk about what this means as in the context of a transformational leader. We're going to get into pipeline and CRM and how that can be done effectively. So I look forward to some of those conversations, Andy.
Yeah, and tips and tricks and tools that can be used to help you be more efficient in these things, because there are plenty out there, and it really just depends on what you're trying to achieve, how you're trying to achieve it, and if you're leading a team or if you're an individual contributor, will depend on your approach on this. But reflect on yourself and then reflect on those around you, and people will kind of follow if they see it working.
And not to give too much away, but I also think it's about sort of not just tools that you can use, but processes that you can follow.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. All right, well, let's leave it there before we end up doing a double episode at once here. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate that. If you are listening and would like to find more episodes, send us feedback or learn a little bit about Andy, myself, the podcast, what have you, you can go to teaandtimbits.com and you'll find all of our back issues, back episodes, and how to get in touch. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks very much, everyone.
All right. Thanks.